Good night, Lucia, and welcome to another episode of Police Insight with your host, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. As usual, I'd like to say good night to our Police Commissioner, Mr. Milton Daisy. Good night to our deputies, our Assistant Commissioners of Police, the entire executive staff officer. Mr. Gastor, how are you doing? Good night to you. I'd like to say good night to all gazetted officers, inspectors, sergeants, corporals, constables, both junior and senior, special police constables, special reserve officers, good night to you. Retired officers, I'd like to say good night to you. City police, how are you doing? Good night to you. Our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, Bodley Correctional Facility, St. Lucia Fire Service, Port Police, custom officers, all security officers, good night to you. Good night to all of you out there in TV land, those of you watching us live on the streaming platform. Hopefully I'll get it, I have not found it yet. On Choice Media Network, we're live on Choice TV, the right choice to be. So, folks, once again, we're here, and this is where you tell a friend to tell a friend that Police Insight is on and we're live. We have a very important guest in here tonight. But before I introduce him, as you know, the usual, we're going to do, first of all, some shout-outs. We have some birthday shout-outs. First of all, I would like to say happy birthday to Assistant Superintendent of Police Curtis Roberts, and he's the officer in charge of the traffic department. How are you doing, my brother? I wish you all the best and many more to come. As you know, when it comes to the pandemic, birthdays are even more special. So good night to you, Mr. Roberts, and enjoy your birthday. Followed up, a special birthday greeting going out to Lily Aziz, I hope I pronounced her name well, Lily Aziz, Nisha or Nisha Terrance. I'd like to say good night to you, Miss Terrance, and happy birthday to you. I hope you are enjoying the day. Well, later on, everyone will know the relation between you and my guest tonight. So I'd like you to enjoy it. Nisha, is it Nisha? Nisha Terrance, Lily Aziz Nisha Terrance. As you know, my dear, we're in a pandemic, and there are lots of persons who have not been able to enjoy what you are currently enjoying. So thank the Almighty, and I wish you a very happy birthday. General shout out goes to the crew, the host, actually, of a radio talk show called Threesome in the Morning on Power FM. And so I'd like to say shout outs to Tony, Paul, and I Candy. I'd like to say good day, well, good night to you guys. You have been so nice to me. Tekla Preville, Angela Hippolyte, good night to you. And also the Director of Corrections, Mr. Hilary Herman. I know that you tuned in. I'd like to say good night to you. For some reason, I have not been able to access our streaming platform, but hopefully I will be able to get that as soon as possible. So let us move on to tonight's Know Your Laws. We're going to play at least 2 short video clips for you, and then we'll get to the Know Your Laws. Go ahead, Terry. Slow down.
The powers that I have is to take that entire vehicle, all the speakers, everything, rip it off, take it to the station. Arrest me. I'm giving you an opportunity. I'm not going to. As you know, there's an offense called loud music. You cannot be doing that. People come from work, they want to sleep to go back to work some other day and everything. Now we only think about ourselves, what we want. Drink rum, and others that have to go to work, we don't get this sleep or they don't sleep. We need to take that into consideration. When we live for everybody around us. And that's what I'm there to do. I know you, you know me, and I don't think you consider me not being a friend. But when it comes to the law, I have no friends. There's no friends in law. So at the end of the day, I'm giving an opportunity to put that off and don't fix that. Please record this information, everything. You could call me OJ Blackface Rosile any other day that you do that, and we'll do that.
Okay, so we now, I guess, I don't know, we have some technical difficulty because I was not hearing my producer in my ears. So I don't know what's up with that. We'll get that fixed. So you've viewed the video, and let us take in tonight's Know Your Laws, because tonight's Know Your Laws is actually tied in with the video you just saw, where one of our own Sergeant Xavier attempted to enforce the law in terms of loud music. So tonight's Know Your Laws comes from the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, Section 550. A person who, without reasonable excuse, proof of which lies on him or her, A, in any public place, B, in or in connection with any business or other place to which the public is admitted, C, in any premises, or D, in any vehicle, by operating or allowing to be operated any musical instrument, speaker or amplifier, causes or allows to be made any loud and continuous sound or noise, is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $1,000 or to imprisonment for 6 months. It goes on to say, a person who, without reasonable excuse, proof of which lies on him or her, by setting off or causing to be set off any alarm or other similar device, makes or causes to be made any loud and continuous noise to the annoyance of the person living in or within the neighborhood, commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $1,000. The provisions of subsection 2 shall not apply to any ambulance, fire engine, police vehicle used in the execution of public duty. For the purposes of subsection 1 and 2, it shall be lawful for a police officer to enter into such place or vehicle, people, and to seize and carry away any musical instruments, appliances, or equipment, or alarm or other similar device, and these shall be forfeited. No proceeding shall be taken against any person for any offense under this section in respect of premises used as a public dance hall, where the prior permission of the Commissioner of Police for the use of any such instrument described in this section has been obtained, but no such permission shall be granted in respect of any dance hall between the hours of 2 a.m. and noon of the same day. So, people, it is what it is. You need to understand that loud speakers creating loud noises in the neighborhood, wherever the place may be, it's an offense. And some of us, I know, we're like trying to challenge the police. How could you prove it is loud? Well, when the officer takes the action and take you before the court, you will see how it is proven. So this has been Know Your Laws for tonight. We're going to take a quick break. Probably they have some technical difficulties we're going to fix. And when we come back, my guest, stay tuned to Police Insight.
The Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Credit Union Limited continues to innovate and remains focused on member satisfaction in this COVID-19 era. For these reasons, we stand proud to give our members an unprecedented opportunity to own a piece of St. Lucia and to create a secured future through our investment services. Now available at the Police Credit Union, 100% financing on residential land loans. Additionally, we offer a unique investment opportunity in our fixed deposit limited investment plan. Earn as much as 5% annually on your investment. And if you are looking for a golden opportunity for a supplemental savings plan for retirement or any other reason, you can now enroll in our Golden Harvest Investment Plan. The Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Credit Union has remained committed to serving you in this COVID period and will continue to serve you in good times and in bad times.
With Prime Bundles from Digicel, you get more than just data. You level up to a whole new digital life. Level up with D-Music and groove along to all your favorite music tracks. Level up with Sports Max and catch all the adrenaline-packed live sports action.
Oh, what a goal!
Level up with Go Loud and tune into local radio stations and the most happening podcasts from around the world. And level up with Playgo and get a front row seat to watch the latest movies and TV series. Enjoy a 7-day bundle starting at only $30 with 50 gigabytes of dedicated data for premium access to your favorite apps without touching your any-use data. Experience the next level with your Digicel Prime Bundle. Activate now with the My Digicel app.
Bank of St. Lucia Visa credit card for everyday people, everyday moments.
Hey, welcome back and thank you for staying tuned to Police Insight on Choice TV. The little hiccups have been fixed. So quickly, those of you in the Facebook chat, you know I always shout you out. Victor C. Anthony from Brooklyn. Kevin Knight, good night to you. Jocelyn Humphrey, watching from Antigua. You're a new viewer. Thank you for tuning in. Bibbs Augustine Saltibus, Narcisse Moise, good night to you. Ivy Mitchell, Onella Joseph, good night to you. Narcisse Moise, Mr. Bernard Haynes with your nice inquiry. Good night to you. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce my guest for tonight. And this individual is none other than our esteemed Deputy Director of Corrections, Mr. Leonard Terrance. Mr. Terrance, good night to you, sir.
Good night, Sergeant.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
How's the day?
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And to share some, to pass on some knowledge of the prison to your audience and to answer questions that, some burning questions that they have and some questions that have been posed to me.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so it's definitely a pleasure to have you here tonight. First of all, can you tell St. Lucia a little bit about yourself? Who's Leonard Terrance?
Who is Leonard Terrance? Leonard Terrance is the father of two lovely children who, incidentally, one of them, Naim Terrance, who celebrated his birthday last week on the 3rd of February.
Interesting.
And my daughter, Lily Azizi Naisha Terrance. If I don't get that right, I'm going to be in trouble. Yeah. Who has given me 2 hours out tonight to be on this program.
Oh,
today is her birthday.
Thank you, Naisha.
She turned 18 years today. So I'm also an avid sports fan. Although today I'm not very happy about Manchester's loss.
Well, actually, they drew.
Well, that's a loss for us, but quite a number of persons are happy, and I'll be getting a few text messages.
Yeah.
I'm also from the community of Cicero. I worked in Cicero for 17 years as a primary school teacher.
Interesting.
I also live there. I also played, I used to play a little football in my earlier years. I am somebody who always try to seek knowledge, especially in the field that I'm in. There's always something that I'm trying to do to understand the profession I'm in and the career path that I have chosen. And the more I see, the more you see that there is something else to learn. So there's something to learn every day. Despite of my sometimes harsh, crude facial expression, I'm actually a very warm individual.
Okay.
And so on. So I'm very happy to be on your program. So in a nutshell,
This is
Leonard
good.
Terrance.
Okay, excellent, sir. So let's get into it. You are the Deputy Director of Corrections. What are your duties at the facility as Deputy Director?
Well, before I answer that question, just let me say that, first of all, as a Deputy Director, I'm appointed by the Governor General.
Okay.
And my duties, as enunciated in the Correctional Services Act, Part 4, Section 11 of the Correctional Services Act, in that as a Deputy Director, I have all the rights, the powers, the privileges, the responsibilities of the Director. And also that means that I'm also responsible for almost all the functions and the operations of the facility. And I have four assistant directors who assist me, along with other correctional officers in carrying out or in executing those duties. It includes budgeting, it includes day-to-day management of the facility, reports, ensuring that reports are done on time, ensuring that we report matters to the court when we are called upon to do so, plan for all activities, assist in the management of the facility on a day-to-day basis. So that's in a nutshell what I do on a daily basis.
Sounds busy.
Very much so. But basically,
Yeah.
to understand all the responsibilities, you also have to understand the departments at the facility is divided in. So there are 4
Interesting.
main departments at the facility.
Yeah.
And each department is managed by an assistant director.
Okay.
So you have operations, is managed by assistant director, that's Mr. Chris Felix. You have the rehab department, which is managed by assistant director, Mrs. Felicien. You have the admin department, which is managed by Mr. Patrick Allen. And then you have the OIC in charge of custodial right now is Mr. Cohen Albert.
Interesting. I'm sure there are a lot of people who didn't know that the facility actually has 4 departments, and each department is headed by an assistant director.
Yes.
So when we look at the general staff, the correctional officers, what are their duties? What do they do? Some would say it's obvious. They watch prisoners. Is that the case? Or do we call them prisoners, by the way?
No, we don't. Well, in our language right now, we don't refer to them as prisoners, or we use the word interchangeably. But basically, we use the word inmates.
Inmates. Excellent.
Okay? However, the duties of a correctional officer is vast. It is extensive, and again, based on the departments that I have mentioned there to you, you'll realize that where you find yourself, or in whatever department you find yourself in, your duties sometimes vary a little. But you must understand that the facility is divided into civilian staff as well as uniformed officers.
I see.
Our civilian staff basically comprises of the accountant, the IT manager, your clinical social worker, your instructors, your medical staff, your kitchen staff, and so on. And then you have your uniformed officers.
I see.
So if you find yourself on the civilian side, there are specific duties that are carried out. But as a correctional officer, depending on where you are or what unit you're in, you also carry different functions there. So you may find yourself on the unit itself where you supervise inmates in their living quarters. That's on the unit itself, so you have to you're responsible for everything that happens in that unit every single day, every hour of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and if I can go on and on. If you are supervising inmates on the farm, you're responsible for everything that an inmate does on the farm. So you're responsible for ensuring that the tools, the equipment, the inmates themselves are properly supervised, the tools are properly secured, and that the inmates carry out the duties that are assigned to them.
Some people actually thought, I've heard some civilians say that doesn't even happen anymore, where inmates have the opportunity to work on a farm or do some labor on a farm. And
that's not the case, and I'm sure as we during our discussion you'll realize that it is not the case.
Okay.
Also, some persons have a misconception about it, that you can just take inmates and send on the farm and work.
Yes, and work.
And that's not the way things work there, and I'm hoping that we can do so tonight.
Excellent.
And I'm just to say again, so an officer who works on the unit, the duties are vast, the duties are enormous, and it's just an ongoing thing that they do every single day. And so that's basically what some of it involves.
There's no way we could continue our discussion without mentioning COVID. Deputy Director, how has COVID impacted the operations of the BCF, the Body Correctional Facility, in terms of, for example, let's look at admittance. Someone coming to the facility where they're escorted by the police, etc. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, well, COVID has actually impacted the facility in a manner that we did not expect. It has affected us significantly in our operations. And also, if I can dare say also, that it also has affected, if you look at prisons around the world, it has affected a lot of the things that, the operations of prisons. Well, in terms of border Leonard of itself, our programs have been suspended as a result, because we are now on our fourth wave of it at the facility, fourth or fifth wave of it at the facility. It has affected the visits at the facility. It has affected our staff, who themselves have been infected with the virus. It has affected even the inmates, and the families are concerned about them at the facility. And so every aspect of the facility has been touched in one way or the other. However, through it all, like other agencies, where if there is a COVID situation, they can close for a day or two to sanitize and do all of these things. We are not blessed with such. We do not have a reserve officers on hand that we can call. Neither do we have an army or a barracks that is readily available where we can transport some of these inmates. So despite all our planning, when we got the first wave, we had to make very quick, critical decisions, basically trying to think on our feet as this happened. So units where you have inmates secured for particular offenses, or depending on the classification, these units had to be reconfigured, changed into quarantine area, whether you use the upper level or the lower level, depending on the severity of the illness. We had to sometimes use 2 or 3 units. And every time a unit is used or an inmate is moved, that's a very serious business at the facility, because you have to keep record and track where everybody goes. And there are inmates there that you do not want to put together. And you want to be very careful how you move one inmate from one unit to another. So can you imagine when we have something like about 125 or more at one time being infected with the virus, and some are recovered or some are recovering, and how you have to move these inmates from one unit to the next. It was an enormous task. But through it all, and I want to pause a little here to say thanks to our staff and to say thank you for their services. It's not often that we do that. Most times when we are caught up in our work, we don't take the opportunity to do that. But tonight, I just want to make sure that is said at the forefront before it slips. So thank you for your service. Thank you for the effort. And one thing I must commend the officers, in times of adversity at the facility, that is where we see the true nature of our officers who come out and work and give up their all, knowing at the end of the day, if they are interacting or they come with some kind of interaction with the inmates, they too can become infected. But they could not, will not leave the facility unsupervised. So they make that effort, or they made that effort to be there and to work diligently. Even some of them actually caught the virus at work, but still gave 100%. So we want to thank them for that. Like everywhere else, it has affected us in terms of our numbers, and we're basically operating there right now with a very, very dedicated set of persons, and the numbers, they will speak for themselves.
Excellent. We are going to take another break as we continue this very intriguing and informative interview with the Deputy Director. Stay tuned.
We're getting rid of it, the long lines and the waiting. We're making it easier for you to conduct business with the Civil Status Registry. We're getting you off the line and online. Look out for it. It's coming soon. Get registered today. Digigolf, serving people and businesses with that island love.
Bon, ou jan pou tous les découps vaccine COVID-19 là, et qu'on y yon certificat en possession. Mais est-ce que savent ou ça joine un certificat digital COVID-19? Ça veut dire, yon qui sa li par computer qui ministre santé kabay. Ou ça chaîne certificat ça là à sous téléphone mobile ou, tablette ou, et ben email ou, et qu'on ça mette à sous papier si nécessaire. Ou ça service certificat digital COVID-19 ou, comme passeport pour travail, pour participer à différentes occasions, pour voyager des pays, et pour bailler assurance à sous information situation la vaccine pour n'importe agence et business qui besoin preuve qui ou Japon vaccine. Pour faire application pour certificat, visitez bureau gouvernement Saint-Lucie qui ouest ça pour faire service digital Digigov. Changez ou quand ça seulement joindre certificat digital COVID-19 ou après ou joindre deuxième coup vaccine. Si vous avez besoin d'assistance et puis application pour certificat digital COVID-19, visitez yon facilité ministère tout près ou et bien en place digital ICT en Moshi, Mikou, Soufouye, Piefort et Loslawi. Il peut prendre 5 jours business pour organiser application Digigov, car service et peuple là et place business et puis l'amitié du pays.
As variants of COVID-19 continue to evolve, Lewis Industries Limited remains resolute in offering the best cleaning solutions recommended by EPA to reduce the spread of the virus. Our disinfectants, EnviroCare and Conquer Byram, which are highly recommended to sanitize, disinfect and deep clean surroundings, will ensure you operate in a safe and healthy environment. With over 3 decades of experience in cleaning and consultancy services, we guarantee you trusted products and quality service. Call us at 450-4060. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our website at www.lewisindustrieslimited.com.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host here, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. My guest, the Deputy Director of Corrections, Mr. Leonard Terrance. As we continue our interview for tonight, I'd like to say good night to former Police Commissioner, Mr. Severin Mosheri. I got a message, sir, and thank you for continuously watching the show that you helped to create, Police Insight. Mr. Deputy Director, excuse me, In terms of okay, we're still along the lines of the way COVID has impacted the operations at the facility. Can you tell us what obtained? What was the procedure in terms of if someone wanted to visit a relative, an inmate at the facility before this pandemic, and what obtains now? If someone wants to know, hey, I really want to visit my relative, what is the protocol in terms of what happens now compared to before?
Okay, so most of what happened before still continues today. So
Okay.
what you have is that the inmate, the family member would call the facility and make an appointment. That appointment will be recorded, and the relative or whoever wishes to make the visit will be given a date and a time, and they will come in. We will notify the inmate about it, and will make the inmate available for that particular time, and they will have the face-to-face visit. With the pandemic, that changed slightly, as everything else that we do right now. Yes, they will make the call. We will set a date, but for a while we had suspended all visits at the facility while we try to set up a system where we can do that same visit. And through the efforts of our IT manager, we were able to set up the e-visit so that the inmates now can talk with their families through WhatsApp or through what we refer to as the e-visit platform.
Okay.
So some persons were not aware of it, but most of the inmates are aware that they can still have that communication with their families. We still continued with the drop-offs for the inmates, but we had to remove it from the main compound to the upper part of the facility in our little hut there, where family members still do the drop-offs, whether it is items that were inmate requested,
Okay.
or whether it is money that they came to drop off there. So they still do the drop-offs. On rare occasions, for now, would we do a face-to-face visit.
I see.
However, professional visits still continue. That is with the lawyers, the inmates' lawyers, as well as the probation officers and any other officer from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force who have to come in to serve on the inmate. So that's where we are there right now as far as the visits are concerned. Now, like everybody else, part of what we try to do with our inmates is to have that family members come and visit them. And we had about 45 visits per day. Hardly have we ever reached that 45 visits where we have 45 family members coming in to see these inmates. So despite the fact that we have almost 500 inmates on any given day, we may get 20, 30. When we get 30, that's a very busy day. And now these numbers have dropped a little because of the COVID.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just asking them to bear it first because sometimes they don't understand that despite the fact that we may explain to them on a number of occasions, and they sometimes take it out on our officers who work on the unit. And sometimes that's what some of the officers have to endure throughout the day, because the inmates sometimes think it is the officers who are just preventing them from seeing their families, but that is not the case. Visits have been suspended in so many places. You can't even go to a restaurant and sit and eat right now.
And the inmates have been informed of this
Yes,
situation.
the inmates have been informed about it. You understand? So that's one aspect of it in terms of the visits that we have suspended. Before, every day we had to take the inmates to court and transport them to court and back. Now, with the COVID, we were forced to use the Zoom platform. For our court, we had to quickly organize our room to accommodate the court sessions, and that has cut off on the transporting of the inmates from Borderley to the various courts in the Castries area. However, we still have to do so many inmates at the facility with the small staff that we have, and sometimes an inmate may be court matter may be scheduled for a particular day, but on that particular day, the inmate may very well have been infected with the virus. So sometimes we have to notify the court about it and get an adjournment for that particular inmate. And these are the little things that happen, and we continuously try to work with the inmate to see that these things, that they try to understand what we do and how we have tried to accommodate them. Since we have introduced the e-court, we call it the e-court, it has saved us, it has assisted a lot in terms of all the preparations that we had to do to get an inmate out of his cell down to the admissions unit to get him ready for court, getting our drivers ready, our patrol officers, our officers to do that. It has cut down on that. However, we still have to have this added pressure that is placed on us and at the facility in ensuring that the inmates go to court and then our systems are working properly. And that is why sometimes we have our signal drop a little.
Okay.
And
yes,
sometimes
like
can
everywhere
delay,
else.
and that's the experience that we have.
Yeah.
So we're still playing around with it to master it. And I suspect that will become in time to come, it will be part and parcel of what we do there. So we don't see all that back and forth up to Castries and driving back, because there's a particular way that we have to transport inmates and be very careful.
Definitely.
And the number of officers that we have to dispatch, and depending on what inmate, so that has helped a lot. So we are trying to see how we can build on our virtual courts, and so that it can accommodate more persons and that we are able to have more court sessions at the facility. But at the time, with the small staff that we have there, it is tasking, but at the same time, we try to meet our obligations every single day.
So you spoke of the inmates having the opportunity to speak to relatives, friends on the outside via a technology, an e-platform. Sometimes, past couple of months, weeks, whatsoever, the citizenry has been the revelation in terms of seeing on social media inmates streaming live, some recordings, whatever the case may be. Is that a concern for yourself and the hierarchy in terms of this type of particular behavior and the fact that inmates are getting access to what appears to be cell phones and other forms of media to reach out to the outside?
That's a very good question, which I believe everywhere I've gone, I've been asked about it. Prisons around the world struggle with this. Just remember, as an inmate at the facility, they have two intentions. Number one, they think about, how do I get out of this place? By whatever means, whether it is through my lawyers, whether it is through by whatever means necessary. And secondly, how do I survive the day? Because in prison, you have all characters from all around the island, and sometimes around the region, and far and wide. And the need for communication is always there. So an inmate will do his best to try to maintain that same lifestyle that he had when he was out, trying to maintain that same level of communication with his or her friends. And they will do anything within their power to do so. One inmate actually told me some time ago, your job is to catch me. Once you catch me, I don't have an issue with you. You're doing your job. My job is to do what I have to do to survive inside of there. Every year, we confiscate almost 600 cell phones.
Interesting. That's
Every year in total, we confiscate almost 600 cell phones. These cell phones, the mules or the smugglers actually risk their lives to try to smuggle these cell phones at the facility. We have arrested a few of them have escaped, and a few of them actually walk through snake-infested areas to send the parcels in. Sometimes an officer is on the fence watching, sometimes an officer is there, and parcels are just falling near these officers.
So Deputy Director, you're saying that because what is being splayed out on social media in the citizenry is that most times we believe that the smugglers are correctional officers themselves, but you're saying that it has been proven that individuals, citizens on the outside, try to send stuff into the compound.
Majority of the phones that are coming into the facility, I will not say that there have not been occasions where officers have been arrested for smuggling items into the facility. The record is there for everybody to see. But I'm telling you, the majority, a large percentage of about 98% of the cell phones that are coming there, we are certain, okay, or more, that these are coming from persons who risk their lives to come and do so. They get paid to smuggle, however way they package the cell phones, and not just cell phones, all kinds of contrabands also. Just remember where the facility is located. And just outside of the fence of that facility, you may have some crown lands, and you also have private lands. And these guys come up to the fence through all nefarious means to try to get some of these in. And some do get in, others we try to intercept as much as we can. But I can tell you, these guys do it in the dead of night, wee hours of the morning. Some of them are actually serving time at the facility for this. So the ones that are getting in, they are getting in with credits on it. They are getting in with, they found all kinds of ways to ensure that it remain charged. And that's the nature of this. It is not just, that is just not unique to, to Waterloo. But that is just the best prisons in the world that you can find. There's still an issue with cell phones being smuggled. In some of the countries there, you have actually drones dropping off packages. They time it, they wait for when these inmates are out, and then these drones will drop these packages there. Now, if you have about 100 inmates out and a package falls between these inmates, you as a brave officer, I would not encourage none of my officers to go in there and wrestle with an inmate to try to confiscate.
It's about safety of the officer.
Exactly. Also. And that's how sometimes they do it. You understand? And just remember in prison, the inmates don't learn from us, you know. We actually learn from the inmates. By the time we try to learn the tricks of the trade and we go and try out all kinds of measures to combat some of the activities, they move on to something else already. So they don't really learn anything from us. The things that we want them to learn from us, most of them are not interested in that. You understand? But the activities that they engage in that can put them in further trouble, we learn how they do so. And I must say also, some of the inmates use, we have some hatchers, we have some persons there who use the different parts of the body to conceal and to hide some of these things too. You understand? So that's what we are. That's just a small part of what we have to deal with every day on the thing. But in time to come, I'm hoping that we can put the technology at the facility whereby we can stop some of these things that are happening there right now.
Thank you, sir. And we're going to take another break as we continue with this very, very informative interview with the Deputy Director. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
So, the pandemic has hit you hard. So, the world is changing and new opportunities are emerging. So, you're now trying to capitalize on it. So, you need a little cash. Oh, you may need up to $30,000 unsecured at 1.5% interest per month with a maximum of 5 years to repay. So, thankfully, Monrepo Cooperative Credit Union has the Repair, Regenerate and Recover Special Loan Facility. It's a call, a short visit and quick approval. So, give them a ring at 455-3370 and ask for the RRR loan facility by name. Monrepo Cooperative Credit Union. Our community, our people, our credit union.
Crime fighting will be another area of focus in the coming year. In the first instance, we must tackle the effectiveness of crime detection and avoidance. This will require new technology, training, and infrastructure. We will be building new facilities for the police in Grosley and Castries. provide additional vehicles and equipment. Monitoring and surveillance will be boosted for the use of modern technology. We will seek to improve police accountability and professionalism and also improve their conditions of work. We will take concrete action to reduce the backlog of cases by the appointment of new judges in the criminal justice system. We will strengthen the laws against domestic abuse. We will also reinitiate plans for the creation of a new halls of justice complex, separate and distinct from that of the police headquarters. However, we must also address the root causes of crime as well. Attention will be given to our system of social support, particularly our human and family support services.
Your vehicle insurance should never break your bank. With Beacon, you can get up to 35% off your fully comprehensive car insurance and still get full protection from unexpected damages with free loss of use, windscreen cover, and special perils. When it comes to your insurance, always be sure you settle for more. Call us at 458-5860 or log on to beacon.co.tt and get a quote today.
Good night. Thank you for staying with the show. Police Insight on Choice Television. Your host there, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte. In studio with me, the Deputy Director of Corrections, Mr. Leonard Terrance. As we continue the interview, if you've missed the first two segments, you've missed a lot. Deputy, I remember you stating earlier on, you mentioned the word surviving, and I guess that's what it means to an inmate is surviving. Is there an issue with feeding inmates at the facility?
Well, let me answer this way. By law, we must feed the inmates. Okay? As a matter of fact, if you look at our schedule in our Corrections Act, it actually tells you the amount of food that you're supposed to give an inmate.
Actually tells you the amount of food.
Right. Now, if we had to follow this,
people
will be in serious trouble. You understand?
That's interesting.
It tells you the diet that an inmate must be on. However, one of the things we have to do, or you must do by law, is to feed an inmate 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, whether hurricane, rain, whatever have you. Okay? We must provide the inmate with staples. Mm-hmm. We must provide them with proteins. We must provide them with vegetables.
Staples,
now,
protein, vegetables.
And it did not say to provide them with fixed salad, or it did not say to provide them with macaroni and cheese or lasagna. When an inmate is at his or her home, or not an inmate, when these individuals are at their homes, they have a choice to determine what they eat on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and on over the weekend. In the prison, the choice that you have or we have to take into consideration is to ensure that we give you food that is wholesome. Okay? We cannot give you food that is spoiled. We cannot do that, or we won't do that, or we don't do that. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we bake at the facility every single day. And if we bake bread in the morning, the next day, the inmate don't want this bread. Now, at our homes, we do our Sunday meals. Sometimes we eat our meals on a Monday, and sometimes it can go up to Tuesday and Wednesday. We don't give inmates any food at this point because we understand that sometimes you may have an issue with food being spoiled, and you do not want an outbreak of E. coli or any of these things at the facility, or food poisoning. So that is why the inmate get fresh food every single day. Now, like in everything else within our homes, we may cook our food today, and the food that we eat today may not be as nice as the one that we ate yesterday or the Sunday, or sometimes we cook a food at home and we come back to that food 3-4 times. The other thing is, the way we prepare our food at the facility may not be the same way as these individuals prepare their food at home. So your palate may not be used to that food. So you not liking the food that we give, it doesn't mean that we are malnourishing you at all. You understand? So we have to do this. We have to take into consideration a number of these individuals who are hypertensive, and to ensure that we give them a low salt diet. And that is why when we realized there were so many persons with hypertension and diabetes, everybody gets the same low salt diet. Apart from that, inmates can make requests to their families to bring fruits in for them.
Okay.
And we allow a maximum of 4 fruits, different fruits, but 7 in total, up to 7. So you can decide to bring 1 mango or 2 mangoes, 1 apple, 1 pineapple, you understand? 3 green figs, 3 ripe bananas, and so on. You know, we allow that, and we have continued with it. On Christmas, we cook special meals for the inmates. So if there's a day that an inmate or something may happen, we don't serve any food that is spoiled, you know. And if any day we cook a food that is not up to mark, we go back and try to correct this almost immediately.
Yes.
You understand? Now, inmates have gone to court, and we have been going to the court, and the judge wants to see what meals that we provide. And when we present the menu for the day, I don't have to tell you the reaction of some of them in the courtroom. Now, can we do better? Of course, there's always room for improvement with what we do, so that we can work along with it. But in this day and age, in these times that we are living there right now, you think about yourself going to the supermarket and trying to grab some stuff. I like grapes. But you think I can go and buy grapes every week right now? I can't go and do that.
It's difficult.
It's very difficult. You know, I like corn and carrot pie, but can I eat corn and carrot pie every day? Sometimes I have to go down and eat just my rice and my butter, my rice and my tuna fish, and my rice and my corned beef. But we don't ever serve rice and corned beef at the facility. Unless we reach crisis situation where we do so, we don't serve that. We serve chicken, we serve on Christmas time, when we have impending storms or when we have heavy rainfall, saltfish. You understand? Salted meat. You know? So really and truly, and sometimes we have to be very careful how we say this. You understand? Because sometimes these things can go far and wide. Because even that same statement that was made about inmates being malnourished, a friend of mine sent a message to me, and that was being played on Caribbean News.
Oh, that's gone that far.
You know, and it just travels like that. So next thing you know, you are violating person's human rights and so on and so forth. To violate somebody's human rights, you basically have to almost do it intentionally. Now, somebody might be out there to correct me for what I'm just said there. But knowing that you are giving somebody something that is not wholesome and continuously doing it. But if one day I give you a food that is not up to your liking, how is that violating your rights?
Excellent.
You understand? So that's what we do, and we try to improve on it every single day. But just understand, every single sector, every single agency, organization in St. Lucia has been hit by this COVID, and it has affected every single thing. $300 when you come out of the supermarket with $300 there right now, it's very difficult. And we now have to ensure that you get fed at the same time providing you food that is wholesome.
Let's talk about rehabilitation. It's a correctional facility. What programs in terms of rehabilitation exist currently at the facility?
Well, before I even answer that, there's a misconception when persons talk about rehabilitation and just use the word rehabilitation loosely. Okay, there's an article called, I believe it's called The Swing of the Pendulum, where it was basically looking at corrections versus leisure. Not corrections, rehabilitation versus leisure. And sometimes we throw this thing out there and we say rehabilitation and an inmate has to be rehabilitated and so on and so forth. And what rehabilitation programs that you have. And then somebody may think that an inmate who goes out there plays football is rehabilitation. It's an aspect of it. You understand? Now, at the end of the day, you want to change behavior. Whatever activities, programs you put in place, you want to change a particular behavior. But for you to change that behavior, you have to know what behavior you're changing. And for you to know what behavior that you're changing, you need somebody to identify that particular behavior. So therefore, you need a specialist to do that for you. I can't come and then tell you that you have a mental problem. I'm not a psychiatrist. And if you have a psychiatric problem and a psychiatrist has diagnosed you, it is the psychiatrist to decide what to put you on, what medication to put you on. If a clinical psychologist has diagnosed you, then it's the clinical psychologist to provide you with whatever intervention that you're on, that you're supposed to be on. So therefore, if sports is going to help you along the way, along with whatever psychosocial activities and programs that are put in place for you, therefore, that helps. However, there are a number of things that we do or that is common in prison that we do that lend itself to rehabilitation.
I see.
Okay? So you have sometimes for the inmates, you have the education program that has been successful at the facility for years. But for the last 2 years, again, the COVID has affected that aspect of the program. We're talking about a time when we were looking at moving our program or partnering with South Louis Community College. I believe through Dr. King, we had Dr. Shabazz or whatever her name was from some university to try to see how we can partner with her to see how we can bring do some online education also with some of the inmates who are there. But then the majority of the inmates that you have there at the facility, based on the initial assessment we did with South Louis Community College, I believe it was Open Campus we did it, we realized that most of them are operating below the academic level for their age. You know, so that's what we were moving into to try to assist. However, one of the biggest blows that we got about $200,000 so that we can improve our skills program. But for us to improve the skills program, we have to undertake some assessments of what we are doing, because that's how you do it. And the team from the Ministry of Education came in, they assessed what the environment that we had to conduct the program, and they would deem whether it is fit for us to conduct it or what it is that we are missing. And then they come back and do another evaluation to either tell us that it is that we can move on with the program or not. We were there, but we were still missing a few things. So we're looking at things like carpentry and woodwork. We're looking at agriculture. We're looking at poultry farming, whereby if the inmates go through a series of go through this program, they will get their CVQs, which is a Caribbean vocational qualifications.
Yes.
COVID has affected that.
I see.
We had a gentleman who was coming there to do the electrical program, electrical installation with the inmates. That has been affected too. You understand? So we are hoping to try to go back. Now that we understand what we are dealing with a little better than last year and a little better than at the end of the year. So we are now slowly bringing some of these programs back, you know, and trying to get the right individuals in place. That is why I believe the one skills instructor, they're currently looking at the job description for a skills instructor, as well as a remedial teacher for the facility. So we had to put this in place in order for us to conduct our program. Now, the education program is one, but at the end of the day, you still have other issues that inmates go through that require intensive intervention. So for example, the inmates that we have at the facility who have serious sexual issues who deal with this, You understand? And that is one, the psychologist or clinical psychologist will tell you that's one of the most difficult conditions to deal with. And for one to deal with this, you must have the right person to deal with this. You understand? It's not anybody that we can just say because you are a psychologist that we can just bring you in and you're going to deal with persons with all their sexual proclivities.
Yes.
We have individuals who are there with serious drug and alcohol problems. So there had to be programs tailored to that, and that's the thing that we are actually looking at and being assured that some of these things will come on stream. We have serious family interventions that we have to do, connecting families, inmates to their families, mother to child, child to mother, and so on. But one of the most serious issues that we have, and that is where we want the public to partner with us. There are a number of inmates. One of the most difficulties the inmates have right now is the fact that when they leave the facility, they have a serious issue with accommodation.
My goodness.
And also employment. So you have spent 10 years in prison and you are living there. Despite our best efforts, sometimes, who is going to employ you?
Society has a serious...
So a lot of persons who are there
mindset.
sometimes before something happens in the facility to jump all over the facility and to jump and blame correctional officers who work very hard sometimes with what little that they have. When these guys go out there, and by the time they reach at the end of the road and they realize, I have not eaten a morning, you understand what I have done? What do I do? So that is where we look at partnering, or we want the public, not just to speak, but to put, something in place so that we can address these serious problems that we have there. Now, it's a very difficult thing to do, and not just here. It's very difficult, but it is something that we have to do. We have serious inmates there with serious mental health problems. Understand? And these inmates there who are there with serious mental health problems, we have to find a way to assist them and to deal with them. Our officers there who are doing that, that's why I tell anybody, if you're a correctional officer and you have gone through the training that is required as a correctional officer, you have educated yourself, you have done the training, you have the experience, you're one of the most experienced person in St. Lucia there right now. Your knowledge base is so vast that if you are leaving this facility at any given time, this security company is supposed to be looking every day to see which correctional officer is retiring today. Because there's a certain level of integrity that correctional officers have, despite all the things that you're hearing there. And sometimes something happens and one wants to brand an entire facility. So one officer does something in the police force.
Yes, that's what happens.
Sometimes persons want to put it on the shoulders of every other officer, when that is not true. When that is just a small, minute. But that's what happens when persons put you in a position of trust and you violate that trust. So if you are a correctional officer and you have done your job, you have retired and you're leaving, security company is supposed to be searching for you and looking for you and asking you to come. Because your observational skills is supposed to be at the top level. Understand? Your integrity, top. Your ability to anticipate and see things, possible things that can happen, you're there. Smart, because as a correctional officer, you have training in several areas. You're a well-rounded individual. But the question that I wanted to ask, and even to your audience there, how many persons or how many youngsters, when you most times you do that from a classroom setting, how many persons actually say, I want to be a correctional officer? I want somebody to tell me.
Don't really hear that.
When a teacher in a school asks a child, what would you like to be? Do you ever hear a child says,
no,
I want to be a correctional officer? When we buy toys for a child, we buy a fire engine, we buy a fire truck, we buy the guns. Do we ever buy a little correctional or prison truck and say, when you grow up, that's what you're going to be doing, transporting high-profile inmates? We don't do that. But do you realize as a correctional officer, you can carve a career, any career that you want as a correctional officer. Any career, whether you become a social worker, psychologist, doctor, nurse, you think about it. If you're a correctional officer, you have that in you to become anything that you want to be. So corrections, there's a correction. This one not like before when you look at guys' height and size and you bring them and you call them a WADA on the kind of thing there right now. No, this thing have changed. That's why they call them correctional officers and not just prison officers.
Like back then.
You know? So things have changed and we must look at this there right now for what it is worth.
We're going to take a break because, we can go along for about 2-3 hours. There's so much I will talk about, but we need to hear from you, our viewers. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we open up the lines. Stay tuned.
With Prime Bundles from Digicel, you get more than just data. You level up to a whole new digital life. Level up with T-Music and groove along to all your favorite music tracks. Level up with Sports Max and catch all the adrenaline-packed live sports action.
Oh, what a goal!
Level up with Go Loud and tune into local radio stations and the most happening podcasts from around the world. And level up with Playgo and get a front row seat to watch the latest movies and TV series. Enjoy a 7-day bundle starting at only $30 with 50 gigabytes of dedicated data for premium access to your favorite apps without touching your any-use data. Experience the next level with your Digicel Prime Bundle. Activate now with the My Digicel app.
We're getting rid of it, the long lines and the waiting. We're making it easier for you to conduct business with the Civil Status Registry. We're getting you off the line and online. Look out for it. It's coming soon. Get registered today. Digigolf, serving people and businesses with that island love.
Okay, welcome back to Police Insight. This is where you have the opportunity now to call in. The time is moving so swiftly, so you could call in with your questions or contributions at 456 0306, 456 0306. And you could also hook me up on the WhatsApp texting platform at 7200401. 7200401. You have any questions or contributions to myself or my guest, especially my guest, on the WhatsApp texting platform. Good night to your guest. What about applications? Is the correctional facility in need of new officers? That's what the person heard.
Yes, currently. I believe one of the things that the government is currently looking at is to fill out some vacancies. However, we have reached the maximum number of persons who applied. However, that person who, if that person has interest and that person has a minimum of 5 CXC subjects with passes in both English and math, then that person can apply by using the government application form and then can send it to the public service and we'll collect it from there. Because every year you have officers who either resign, retire, and what have you. So we do. So if that person is wants to join the correctional service, then fine. And I'll tell that individual that's a very good choice.
Excellent, very good choice. Another statement. Very intriguing discussion so far as the public gets to learn about a side of the experience of managing and working at the prison, which is the experience of the management officers on a day-to-day basis. Hats off to the officers, especially those who work shifts from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Let's talk about training, Deputy Director. What sorts of training do the correctional officers go through, are subjected to? Or you'd like to see and that is not currently available?
Well, really, before you actually enter the facility, you should be subjected to your entry-level training, or training that is designed at that level, just like a regular police officer. At some point in time, our correctional officers were training together with the police officers around that same time, but they were doing corrections while police were doing police. But you know that there are subjects that both officers and police officers and correctional officers do. There are other persons who may choose other paths. Some persons may go on and do a degree in corrections or certificate in corrections. But for now, what we do is the individuals who have met our benchmark requirement, who have passed the background check, what we do now is to do an in-service training because of the need that has arisen, and then hopefully in the next couple of years that they can actually do the correctional program. But there are several other certifications that officers can get, can do with regard to that. Unfortunately, our funding is not sufficient to provide all that. Because officers have to do report writing, prison riot training, intelligence, investigations, dealing with inmates with mental health, dealing with the elderly, inmates, aging inmates in a prison, CPR, health and safety, a number of things that they have to do, and they have to sometimes keep themselves current in order to do so. Okay. Now, sometimes the training is expensive, and persons may not want to engage in it. Other persons who pursue their degree in criminal justice can specialize in corrections, can specialize in correctional management. Other persons can specialize in correctional strategic planning, policy and planning. And like I said, there are an array of courses that one can do. And that is why I said earlier on, if an officer has gone for the training and has done what he or she is supposed to do, at the bare minimum, employment agencies are supposed to be looking for them on the retirement.
Someone is asking, Deputy, what if the person only has 3 CXCs and is a former peace officer?
Unfortunately, the benchmark for now is supposed to be the benchmark. If that officer brings these 3 CXCs, I'll tell the officer, take a CXC course in January or 2, or take one in July. Because what happened is, it's not that the 5 CXCs cannot work, but now you're getting a number of officers with 7 and 9 and 10 passes. And not just only that, you have officers with associate degrees in business management, associate degrees in food and beverage, associate degree in, one guy his leaning was more into the sciences, and you have a number of these officers who are coming and who are applying with associate degrees. So when you're looking at it, and these officers have gone through some level of training, you have some confidence now that they have been exposed to a number of subject areas, that you can have some confidence in, that you do not have to go back and do with them other than engage them in the correctional setting.
Someone on Facebook is asking, how long does the vetting process take with regards to applications?
The vetting process, once the officer gets the name of the potential officer, he will make an appointment and he will ask the officer a couple of questions, and then he'll go back and double check and cross check and to see if the information that you provide is up to mark. He may go to your place of employment. He may go to your church if he has to. talk to your friends and relatives and what have you, just to make sure that from the onset we are bringing in persons who are worthy to be at the facility. So as for a time, I'm not going to say it will not take 4 or 5 months. If it's going to take 5 months to do one person, then it's a waste of our time. But it is not something that we just go out and do for a couple of hours and turn our backs and go. That's not how it happens right now.
Question on WhatsApp. If a female inmate is pregnant and delivers at the facility, are they able to take care? I think it was saying, is the facility able to take care of that female inmate, that new mother and newborn child?
That's a very interesting question, and that goes to show you the extent of a correctional officer's job. We have had inmates who come to the facility pregnant. Okay? There's a particular unit that we had to constantly convert it. So one time it is a juvenile unit, one time it is a baby mother care unit. Okay? It's like a studio apartment with television in it, with bathroom facilities and so on. And we have had inmates who come there pregnant and have given birth. But we do not have a solid policy in place for that. So sometimes when these inmates give birth, what we allow them to do is for a couple of months for that child to remain with the mother. Okay, and we have had that before. There was one particular young girl who did that. A lot of people were outside and saying that the child should not have been there.
Yeah.
Right, I understand that. Under normal circumstances, this is not where you want a young lady to give birth. However, think about it well. A mother gives birth to a child, and this mother is also convicted for a serious offense. So, do you allow the mother to leave? By law, we cannot tell the mother to leave. We cannot allow anybody to go through the gate. So that or allow the mother to spend some time to bond with that child.
The viewers just saying, I thought they would have let the person go.
No, we can't do that. But guess what happened? One of the most moved, I can remember there are quite a few instances that have given me a little bit of pause at the facility. And to sometimes think and say, sometimes our perception of prison, what persons think on the outside there, is totally different from what happens. When this young girl was leaving the facility, it was a sad day for the staff who were actually taking care of that little child inside of there.
Interesting.
I saw persons crying. Now, you would want to say, oh, she has done a crime, she has done something, and therefore, blah. No. This young lady right now, I'd really be very interested to know where she is right now with that child. She got out, she had things for the child, she had the pampers, she had everything that a child needs for that first couple of months. But it is not, but we have to ensure that we put some solid policy in place to deal with these instances where you're going to have persons who come in pregnant. Okay, we do our best under the circumstances, but we have to finalize our policy to ensure that we are doing the right thing.
Question here, Deputy WhatsApp texting platform. It seems everyone is sending messages, not calling. Deputy Director, on a scale of 1 to 10, how safe and secure would you say is the Bodley Correctional Facility?
I'm not going to give a number, but I'm going to tell you the correctional facility is a safe place.
I'll leave it there.
Yes.
Okay, another. Let me see. So I got another question there. Can senior officers at the facility reprimand or discipline junior officers, correctional staff?
We are guided by the staff orders. And to discipline in public service terms, it is the Public Service Commission that can discipline. If a junior staff has violated a rule or law or something like this, the senior officer can write a report submit it to the director, but it is the Public Service Commission that disciplines, not the director.
So thank you for that question.
Okay, and that is one of the things, because you like I said, it is the director who disciplines. Okay.
So it's not like the police force or the commissioner in terms of from we have a call on the line? Okay, let's take that call. Caller, good night to you.
Yeah, hello officer.
Hello, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
And your guest. The question I want to ask about a woman giving birth in prison.
Yes.
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes. Is the crime that the mother is in there for, is it a stigma to that child?
Okay. Caller, thanks for the question.
Yeah.
And there's research that show that that child can be traumatized, but I cannot cite the actual source for you. But based on the research that I've done, they said that the child can be traumatized.
Thank you, caller.
However, there are others who argue differently. There is a debate right now as to if a female inmate gives birth in a prison, whether that child can be accommodated in the prison up to a certain age. There are some who believe that the child should not be in prison. Now, a lot of people think that the director of the facility can just open the gate and tell an inmate, yo, the director cannot do that. And the inmate has to, the inmate, it's upon the expiration of the sentence that they can leave. There are other mechanisms that can be used, such as the Inmate Convict License Act, but that can only be used by the minister.
I see.
Okay, and you have pardons that can be used by the Governor General, and you have parole that is being done by the parole board. But never is it the director to just say open the gates and leave. And some person think, even during the COVID period, that we can just tell them go, you know, and that is not the case, you know.
Deputy, we have about 4 minutes left. Let me quickly just say good night to all of you in the chat. Nancy Abraham, Anita, Pinky, Paul Valsin, Jacinta Joseph, thank you for tuning in. What are some of, what would you say are the challenges of note that currently facing the facility?
Well, you have challenges at different levels, and some of them I will mention, and some of them I will use a different forum to do so. Part of it is sometimes persons don't understand that while you may say that the facilities are the back end of the system, anything that happens at the front end of the system affects us. So therefore, if these things are not taken care of from the front, it poses a big challenge to us. So therefore, when a court is adjourned, the inmate is not even seeing it as not us who adjourn the court. It is the court that adjourns itself.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And therefore, what they try to do is to take it out on some of our officers. By cursing and although there are rules and regulations for when you do such. So, you know, that is why sometimes an inmate can come there for about 6 weeks or for about 3 months or whatever, and they end up spending 6 weeks or 6 months because they break certain rules.
I see.
You have challenges at this point in as we mentioned, and in these times you have some resource challenges also. There are certain things we want to do, there are certain things we would like to do, but at this time the resources are not sufficient to do so. In our budget, we get about 70% of our budget goes towards wages and salaries. The other 30% goes towards everything else, operating and everything else. You understand? So the things that we really want to do or we want to like to implement at this point in time, it is slowly coming, slowly being implemented, but not at the rate that we would like it to happen. Because we know if something is not taken care of, we are likely to feel the repercussions or ramifications of it on the unit. And these are the same officers who have to be there, who face these things every single day. Okay? And who have to deal with these things. The other challenge that I believe that we have, and I believe it's across law enforcement too, we sometimes don't realize the kind of pressures that correctional officers are on, and even police officers are under. And they too require an outlet. They too require some level of intervention too to deal with the various issues. So just take, for instance, a police officer. You arrest somebody. The next time you see that person, that individual, is maybe when you go back to court. That individual, if that individual stays at the prison for 10 years and you are at the prison for 10 years, you actually live with that individual, you know. If it's an 8-hour shift that you do, you actually there with these individuals. And these days it's a 12-hour shift that the officers, you're there for 12 hours. So multiply 12 hours by 10 years and the amount of time that you spend with these individuals, you know. So sometimes your persons don't understand that some of these guys who are outside there, bad as they are, most of the time the public don't see when they cry.
Yeah.
The public don't see when their own family members will come and visit them. And guess who have to be there with them? Correctional officers. You know, but they will not say that. Because it's not even the nature for an inmate to tell you that, or some of them will tell you that. But when they have the issues and they crawl in a fetal position, it's a correctional officer who is there. So at the end of the day, training is one of the things that we emphasize on, and continuous training and retraining of our officers. It's not something that you do today and next 3 years you don't do it. You have to constantly be training our officers in riot drills, in fire drills, in firearms training, in dealing with persons with mental health, anything that comes new, especially in this COVID period there right now. The same things that we were doing manually, the same thing that we were doing face-to-face, in this COVID period there, how do we do it? And there are innovative ways that we have to come up and try to reinvent ourselves in terms of how we conduct our business and how we provide our services and how the operations of the facility supposed to be working right now in this period right now. And that's something that we have to get on board with very quickly, or sooner rather than later. Because imagine you're coming to deposit, or you're coming to do a drop-off with monies and so on. Now you have to think of e-banking.
Yes.
You understand? We have to start thinking of online banking, I should say, for some of these persons. Before, you would need a clinical psychologist to sit face-to-face in front of an inmate to do some interventions. Now you can do it through Zoom. And we must get on board with some of these things, but the resources that are required to do so must be made available, you know. And the other thing that we're looking at is that can pose a challenge, and it is something that we can work with the private sector to assist to. How the labor readily available, providing that we do the right things.
Just give us a couple of minutes, Evan.
Providing that we do the right things to get persons to do the work. We have certain industries that can be set up at prison, because that's one of the things I saw in one of the prisons that I visited. Okay? And so that you have that public, that private sector partnering with us to help do have some of the inmates gainfully employed. But at the end of the day now, like I said, there are a lot of persons out there. Whenever something happens, there's a lot of talk, and we're not doing this, we're not doing that. But we are not on our own. We are not supposed to be on our own. We should not be on our own. It's supposed to be a partnership. Because at the end of the day, when an inmate leaves the facility,
that's right,
he will come to your community, whether you like it or not. He will come to, whether it is Grosley you live in, that's Grosley. If it's Grosley he lives, he'll return to Grosley. What would you do rather? An inmate that you try to assist or you help, so that when they return, there is something for them to do, or you just leave them there, you do the time, you do the crime, go and do the time. Understand? So there is a need for persons to be a little bit more sympathetic. But while I'm on that, I still have to go back again to our own officers too. You know, not many times persons, when we talk about support and everything else, we sometimes think of support for the inmates. How many persons actually say, I'm willing to support the officers in A, B, C, D? And that's the kind of thing that I want the public to, their perception or to change their thinking when that comes. So if you're going to help an inmate do A, B, C, D, I would also be very happy if you can help do A, B, C, D for officers because they need the help too. Last year, I believe I called in a program and there was some discussion taking place just around the Christmas season. And I did tell the host at the end of the day, here it is that you're making certain statements where the inmates are concerned. But it is Christmas time. Just try to bring some chairs to our officers by providing them with sorrel and black cake. In America, they provide them with donuts and coffee. Here we can do the same and help do the same to show our appreciation because persons don't realize correctional officers is part and parcel of national security. And I just explained to you, when you arrest somebody, the next time you see that individual is when you go back to court, if ever you go back to court, because it depends on the length of time that the court takes. But these officers, these inmates, 3 days or 4 days after your arrest, depending on the magistrate's decision, you have to spend this time in this prison with these inmates. And you know everything about them. And don't think they don't know about you too. Understand? So I hope today when we look at a correctional officer, we're going to see somebody that is serious, somebody that is different, somebody that is up to the job, and that will say, thank you for your service.
Final comment, sir?
Well, my final comment is that let me again say, very happy to be on your program. Let me also say there are quite a few things that in my thank you to the staff of the DCI, I said to them that I will put the issues of correctional officers first and foremost on the government's agenda. It is my solemn vow to do so that we can begin to look at corrections in a way that we have not looked at it before, but in a more positive way. And that get persons to understand a little bit more of what happened in corrections, what happened in prisons, and that persons will not be so shocked when they see certain things happen, but just continue to do so because there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I want to take the opportunity to clarify, to explain as best as I can what it means to be a correctional officer, what it means to work in a correctional environment, what it means to be securing 400 persons who by a court of law have said that this is where they're supposed to be. You know, violent and otherwise, mental and otherwise, those fraudsters and otherwise, and at the same time, some very smart ones inside of there too. Okay, so let me just say again, thank you everyone, thank you for your service and for your very attentive audience.
Thank you so much, Deputy Director, for being my guest tonight on Police Insight. We have gone far past the time that should have been closing. Once again, there are some messages that I just cannot get to at this point in time, but I promise next Tuesday I will make my best to get to them. I'll save them. So thank you so much, those of you who viewed via Facebook, the television, etc. Thanks for supporting Choice TV and Police Insight. Stay tuned and be safe. Good night.
Wearing a striped shirt.
What's wrong with my shirt?
Nothing, but my tone